Today we were heading to a place whose name I had previously seen only in geography textbooks, Uruguay. Across the river from Buenos Aires lies Colonia del Sacramento, one of Uruguay's most historic cities. We took a ferry there and completed immigration procedures along the way. Argentine exit control and Uruguayan entry control are conveniently located in the same building, just at different counters, making the process quick and straightforward. The ferry ride takes a little over an hour, making Colonia an ideal day trip from Buenos Aires. The moment we stepped off the boat, we were greeted by the stunning colors of autumn, a sight I hadn't seen in quite some time. Colonia's historic quarter has preserved much of its colonial era character and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. From the establishment of a Portuguese military outpost here in 1680 to Uruguay's independence in 1828, the city changed hands multiple times between Portugal and Spain, and was even annexed by Brazil for a period. This turbulent history left a unique architectural legacy. Here you'll find rugged Portuguese cobblestone streets, alongside broad Spanish-style avenues and elegant wrought iron window grilles. The street before us was the famous Street of Sighs. Its uneven stone pavement and weathered adobe houses make it one of the most photographed spots in town. Visitors flock here to capture the street's timeless, nostalgic atmosphere. The old town is also home to a lighthouse built atop the ruins of the San Francisco convent. The remains of the original structure can still be seen around the base. For a small fee, visitors can climb to the top, although cash is required. Unlike in many other countries, credit cards are by far the best payment method in Uruguay. Credit card purchases often receive a 10% discount, and certain cards can qualify for discounts of up to 20%. During my entire time in Uruguay, I never exchanged any cash or bought a local SIM card. Most restaurants and hotels offer free Wi-Fi, and my next destination would be a ranch, where I'd spend 3 days largely disconnected from the outside world. The weather was cool and overcast, so I stopped at a restaurant across from the church for lunch. I ordered a pot of tea along with grilled steak and vegetables. The main course was excellent, but what really surprised me was the mayonnaise served with breadsticks. One serving was enough. I asked for a second. Colonia's waterfront is known as a perfect sunset watching spot. However, thick clouds rolled in that evening, and the sunset never appeared. The next morning was chilly, but that didn't dampen the enthusiasm of the locals setting up their stalls. It was my first time seeing someone selling cheese straight from the back of a truck. With a few hours before departure, we continued exploring the city. Nearly every major street is lined with orderly rows of sycamore trees. On a sunny day, the harbor area would be incredibly picturesque. The calm, relaxed pace of Colonia stands in sharp contrast to the bustle and energy of Buenos Aires across the river. A restaurant serving Spanish paella caught our eye, so we decided to stop for lunch. It turned out to be an excellent decision. Afterward, we visited a gelato shop recommended by our guide, and the ice cream certainly lived up to the praise. Colonia is well worth a visit for its history, culture, scenery, and food. Given how close it is to Buenos Aires, it's an easy and rewarding excursion. That afternoon, we drove 2.5 hours to a ranch near the city of Mercedes. Along the way, the Uruguayan countryside struck me as remarkably tidy, organized, and well-maintained. Later, I learned that Uruguay is classified by the United Nations as a high-income country, with a GDP per capita approaching 25,000 United States dollars, one of the highest in Latin America. The country enjoys political stability, social harmony, and good public welfare. Though small, it has a highly developed market economy built largely on agriculture, livestock, and food processing. When we arrived at the ranch, we found the property spanning about 200 acres. It housed livestock, poultry, and 13 horses. The owner now runs other businesses and visits only occasionally. Our first activity was learning how to make a traditional Uruguayan snack called torta frita. It reminded me very much of Chinese fried flatbread. Once fried, it looked surprisingly familiar. The afternoon passed quickly. As sunset approached, everyone hurried outdoors to watch the spectacular colors spread across the open countryside. For dinner, I had only a bowl of hearty homemade soup. The walls of the ranch's main hall were decorated with antique farming tools. After dinner, some people stayed by the fireplace. while most gathered outside. One of the ranch hands lit a bonfire, and we sat in a circle as our guide played guitar and sang.
I don't know just how it happened. I let down my guard.
It was a cold night beneath a sky full of stars, yet we all felt the warmth. The next morning dawned bright and sunny with a light frost covering the grass. Our first activity was milking cows. It required both technique and hand strength. Afterward, we spent some time playing with the sheep. Meanwhile, 2 large cuts of beef were being prepared for lunch. They were coated with coarse salt and cooked using a traditional wood fire method. Logs were burned down to embers, which were then placed beneath the meat so it could roast slowly over gentle. While waiting, we learned to make empanadas. There were 2 fillings, one with meat and another vegetarian version. Chopped onions and green peppers were sautéed before being mixed into the fillings. As we worked, the ranch cook moved glowing embers beneath the beef and added local sausages to the grill. At the same time, our guide demonstrated how to prepare mate, the iconic South American drink, made from the leaves of the yerba mate plant. It contains a substantial amount of caffeine and is deeply woven into daily life throughout the region. Preparing mate requires 2 essential tools, a gourd cup and a filtered metal straw called a bobolo. There is also a ritual associated with sharing it. During gatherings, only one person serves the mate. After preparing it, they hand it to another person, who drinks the entire serving before returning the cup. The server then prepares another round for the next person. Interestingly, you never say thank you after receiving mate. Saying thank you signals that you've had enough and don't want another serving. I tried it and found the flavor quite similar to green tea, though stronger and more intense. Soon it was time to assemble the empanadas. Everyone pitched in, and before long both the meat and vegetarian versions were ready. They weren't the most beautiful looking pastries, but the experience was what mattered. I played a few games of table tennis. By lunchtime, the beef and sausages were ready. After lunch, I relaxed in a hammock under the sun before preparing for the afternoon's horseback ride. Then came the most enjoyable and relaxing part of the day, riding through the countryside. Each day we followed a different route around the ranch, accompanied by 2 ranch employees riding ahead and behind the group. The rides lasted about an hour, and afterward we returned to enjoy the empanadas we had made earlier. Another beautifully fresh morning awaited us the next day. We spent part of it exploring the nearby city of Mercedes. It's not a famous tourist destination, just a quiet provincial town. Like many cities in the region, it has a central plaza with a church and several main streets branching outward. Not far from town is a winery that also houses a small museum. The property appeared somewhat neglected, and several people in our group felt the wines were rather ordinary. Following the road from the winery down to the river, we discovered a large recreational area with lovely scenery, a perfect place to relax and idle around. That afternoon we took a different horseback route. One of the ranch workers told me that wild deer, foxes, and wild boar can occasionally be seen in the area. The 3 days at the ranch offered a welcome escape from city life. Milking cows, collecting eggs, interacting with sheep and cattle, enjoying wood-fired barbecue, learning local recipes, and singing around bonfires, all of it helped wash away the fatigue of long-term travel. It was one of those rare experiences that felt completely immersive from beginning to end. Next stop, Iguazu Falls.